This is an interesting one because, the whole thing that a lot of people would say is that minus the Trump presidency, a lot of people that were on the left, they didn't have anything else to go to. We talked about Twitter and seeing how Trump being very active on there revived it because it was on its way out prior to him kind of running and doing what it was that he was doing. And I think this may be the first mark of an example of that, in which people have absolutely nothing else but that. And it was, though they hated this man, they despised this man, their usefulness is then removed. It's no longer there once Trump was no longer in play. And what happened recently, and I think there's two examples of this that I want to show you. I want to show you the first one, which some of you guys know. This happened the other day. This happened yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So HuffPost is laying off 47 people after the acquisition by BuzzFeed. And I saw somewhere, like it was they were saying, some of the union guys that were part of that union stuff with HuffPost said we never got a chance to show what it was that we can do and all of this sort of stuff. But let's read. So BuzzFeed announced layoffs in the HuffPost newsroom on Tuesday, just 3 weeks after finalizing a deal to purchase HuffPost from Verizon Media. So they're purchasing purchased Huffington Post or HuffPost from Verizon, and then almost immediately laid off 47 employees. It says layoffs would have fell 47 U.S. employees. BuzzFeed is also shutting down operations at HuffPost Canada later this month, which I did see this. I think that was where the union post it was that I was seeing came from. It came from this HuffPost Canada thing. These layoffs were made to fast track the path to profitability. This is what BuzzFeed CEO Jonah Peretti told staffers, according to HuffPost. Peretti said it would allow the company to break even this year to eventually turn a profit. So Huffington Post, it doesn't seem like, at least in terms of their contributions to whatever, even if it was with Verizon Media. And this is what the thing is when you have these big sort of corporate entities or bigger that have a lot of different properties. A lot of them are able to sustain themselves because of that. I think we see that kind of with some of the comic book stuff. It's not because, well, we're big, therefore we get to allow you to exist. It's less about that and more about they do have something else that is profitable, and they can then kind of utilize that money to subsidize what is not profitable. It's also like that with the NBA, for example, in the WNBA, where the NBA subsidizes the WNBA despite it not being as profitable, if profitable at all. Right? So I think that is important information. But it says the layoffs come amid a pandemic that has been devastating to many news companies. It's funny that they're blaming that, because you'd think with a pandemic, the news companies would be most viable, or rather they would be at its peak, because people are at home, people are able to watch the news, consume the news, be it on not just on TV, internet, phone, PC, whatever you're on, whatever device that you is. You would think that the pandemic, with all that was going on, should make that shoot up. So this is why that was such a bad argument, at least to me, that people would say that, okay, well, you are, I don't know, losing money because of the pandemic itself, especially in that, because the news agencies, these were the ones that were told that they were essential. Right? It's one thing if the government shut you down, you're in the restaurant industry. Yeah, we know that happened. But with the news agencies, not so much. So I think it's kind of silly to blame that, but whatever. Today we learned that 33 of our colleagues, hold on, let's read this. And the Huffington Post union, this is what I was talking about. And this comes from The Hill, by the way, organized as part of the Writers Guild of America East, said it was devastated and infuriated by the decision. Continuing on. Today, we learned that 33 of our colleagues, nearly 30% of our unit, will be laid off. Look, I don't like people losing their jobs, man. This is the group that wrote in a statement, said, "We are devastated and infuriated, particularly after an exhausting year of covering the pandemic and working from home. This is also happening less than a month after Huffington Post, her post was acquired by BuzzFeed. We never got a fair shot to prove our worth." This is what I was talking about earlier. BuzzFeed put the finishing touches on a deal to acquire that. So that was in 16th of February. When the transaction took place, Verizon Media said the two newsrooms will operate as separate and distinct news organizations. Interesting. In May, BuzzFeed announced that it would furlough dozens of employees, and the end of the month reduces losses. The Hill reported, however, in July, the Wrap reported 67% of those furloughed were ultimately laid off. Wow. Okay, so I understand this. Look, I don't like to hear people getting laid off, but I do believe that there's something to these guys, not what they're doing, simply not being profitable. I think, if anything, the thing that allows them to even exist in a lot of cases is the fact that they get I won't say usurped, that's the wrong word, but they get taken over, be it bought out or whatever, to be part of a larger group that can kind of use maybe an aspect that is profitable to pump them up. But there's another example of this that I want to show you guys, like right here with The Intercept. And they specifically stated this. It says Donald Trump left office on January 20. Donations to The Intercept have gone down sharply. After years of steady growth, last month brought fewer new members than we've seen in more than 2 years. Wow. Similar trends are being reported across media and progressive politics, while Trump rallied against journalists as the enemy of the people. Grassroots outraged over Trump's corruption, racism, and incompetence fueled a spike in ratings and fundraising that became known as the Trump bump. Now, it seems like that Trump bump is gone because there's no more Trump. So what else do they have to go on? What's the new gimmick, if you will? They don't know. They don't have it. But I think that's just interesting. And of course, it's HuffPost, and they put out a lot of garbage. A lot of these leftist mediums do, and people lose jobs. I think they get what they deserve. I don't like to see people losing jobs anyway, but I think they get what they deserve because they're not doing anything that's lucrative. And that's what I want to see journalism being, right? It's not about doing it specifically for the money. It's not just about that. It's that if you are doing something that is worth of value, even if it's not to me, you can make that profitable. But if you don't, you don't exist. And I would like to see that particular market, which we see as not a market, I guess you consider it a market, but that particular industry, which we think is a dead industry, unless it's like private journalism, reshape itself, definitely with the egg that they have been laying over the last 4 or 5 years, particularly with the Trump presidency. And now we go into Joe Biden presidency, and they don't have Trump to kind of like utilize as people that just hated that man so bad or so much. Some of it often perpetuated by these guys, but they hated him so much, but they were good for his ratings. This is why, when we talk about the alt-tech revolution and everything, you had CNN talking about they don't like the fact that there are commentators that are able to be watched and have more followers than them, like they have, or rather more live viewers than they have in the CNN morning news. So you heard it here. If the Post lays off 47, and it looks like there may be more of this to come. So we'll see what happens.